Hey folks, welcome to the first ever Bantha Fodder, bringing you the manure mail, bringing you the garbage. Now, my original plan for this stream was to do kind of a silly takes on silly stuff, right? On the stupid things in the news, etc. The problem is that things got a little serious today, so I'm going to talk about that instead, and I'm just going to roll with it. Okay? Talk about what this stuff means and where I think it's going. So it's going to be a little more serious. Maybe I'll talk about some funny stuff later in the show as we go. Oh, actually, I'm going to start with something else. I'll be right back. Okay, here's what we've got. We've got a special treat for you today. Look at this beautiful kitten. This is the world's best and brightest little white. He's so white, he's making the camera trip out a little bit. The gain on the camera is being weird. Look at this perfect little cat. He's purring. Let's see if we can hear his purr. His name is Merlin. Isn't he a wonderful little cat? Yeah. So look into the blue eyes of the sweet cat. He's a good boy. You want to go off? You are sleeping. You want to sleep in my lap, or do you want to go off and play? Probably wants to go off and play. But I thought I'd show you this little ragdoll kitty. He just goes flopping in your hands. It looks kind of weird to hold him, but that's what he does. He just kind of flops and floops about when you hold him. Very sweet kitty. He's like, I don't want to go. He doesn't want to go. Okay, I'm back. Song is called Lux, or Lux, if you're pronouncing it proper Latin. Early song from my catalog. All right, so here's what we want to talk about today. I had some topics in mind. The big one is going to be Charlie Kirk. And here's the thing about Charlie Kirk. Turn that music down. So you have to ask yourself the question, what's the difference between Charlie Kirk and you? Because I can answer, what's the difference between me and Charlie Kirk? And so the big difference, and I said this to my wife, the big difference between me and Charlie Kirk is, besides 11 years, me being 11 years older, is the size of the audience. Charlie Kirk was murdered. Charlie Kirk was assassinated not because he was worse than me or worse than you, but because he had people's attention, because he had an audience. In fact, he's probably more moderate than me or a lot of other people. I've probably dunked on him on Twitter at some point for something that I thought he said, which was dumb. I don't know. I don't have any memories of it. I have nothing against him, and I don't really have any. There's no bad thoughts. And even if I had a whole troop of dislike of him, I don't know if you imagined you replaced him with someone else that I don't like, it would never cross my mind that I think he should be dead, and that his parent and that his children should grow up without their father. They should grow up without parents. But the reality is that the people who did this would happily kill you. And the only reason that they didn't is because you don't have an audience. Or for me, because my audience is too small, right? My potential audience is like 50,000. His was like 5 million, right? So 2 orders of magnitude higher, that's when people have to be killed for having bad ideas, okay? That's a really sobering thought. And I said that to my wife, and she, of course, one of the things she said was her first reaction was, I think, my initial reaction, she followed this up with like, I'm not saying you should do this, but like that's the gut reaction is, well, we should get rid of all social media, get rid of YouTube, delete all the channels and all that kind of stuff. Because the fact is, I've gotten death threats before. A lot of people don't realize this, and I'm not saying these should be super serious, but I've gotten death threats for things that I've said online. And, people have tried to hurt me because of things that I've said online. So the difference between me and you is probably just a matter of audience for most of the people watching. And the difference between you and Charlie Kirk is just a matter of an audience, right? So the people, just pay attention. There's people maybe in your life who are going to celebrate that somebody they've been told to hate has been murdered. The same way they would have celebrated if Donald Trump had actually been assassinated last year, as they would have been celebrating because they have been, they've been convinced, they've been told, they've taken to heart as part of their core beliefs this egregoric eidolon entity of Trump being evil. And Charlie Kirk is one of those too. They don't know him as a person. They know him as an idea, and they hate him for what he says and what he thinks. So they really are going to think the same thing about you. People think I was being very hyperbolous a couple years back when I said it was really hard for me to realize that a lot of the people that were my friends hate me and want me dead. But that's true. A lot of people that I have been friends with, that I went to college with, people maybe that were, went to weddings, went to my wedding, maybe even, they hate me and they want me dead. Okay. They would be very happy to know that I had been murdered for the things that I say. And I don't even say things that are too controversial. I'm pretty under the radar as far as YouTube stuff goes by necessity, because I know how these things work. And people say you're a little spicier on Twitter, and that's true. It's because I have a little bit more free speech over there. But they hate me and they want me dead. People think I'm being, you're so hyperbolous when you say they hate you. Of course they hate you. They will show you what they think about you by directing that hate towards someone that's exactly like you in every way, except that person has an audience. So is that person having an audience make them worse than you? No. Charlie Kirk was not assassinated because he's worse than you. He was assassinated because people listened to what he had to say. That's the only difference. And they would be just as ecstatic if you had traded places and you had that audience. Those people that knew you would have been happy to have you be dead as well. And that's a hard thing to accept. The like Scott Adams called it like weapons grade brainwashing, right? It's weapons grade. The weapons grade brainwashing that's been going on has convinced people that the political opposition really are enemies, like in the full extent of what Carl Schmitt meant by this, like 100 years ago. If you read something like The Concept of the Political, that there's this distinction between friend and enemy, and that's what politics really come down to. Is you're the enemy, and therefore, just like in war, right? Politics are war from his perspective. They're like almost a precursor to war. It's very similar. So just like in war, the enemy combatant has to die for your own survival. So feeding into that is some of the layers of propaganda. It's really hard to kill a person that has like a wife and children and is just like you. So they have to be demonized. They have to be evil. They have to be a caricature. They have to, they have to have all of these things that make them not a human, that make them dehumanized. It's a really important thing to think about. So yes, I'm dead serious when I say a lot of the people that I knew, a lot of people that were teachers of mine, maybe people that I went to university with, hate me and want me dead. They hate me and they want me dead. And I know because of what they say about people that are just like me, except that person has an audience. And if you were to press them, if you press them on it, it's like, what's the difference between them? You're not like him. I'm exactly like him. I'm worse than him. I have way more extreme opinions than he does. So you think it'd be good if I was killed? And they have ways of phrasing it. So it's like, he got what he deserved, or he could have stopped thinking those things. And it really just comes down to, if you think these things, if you say these things, you deserve to die. You deserve to be murdered. It really does come down to that. Now, if we want to go a level deeper than just sort of brainwashing, what I think opens up a lot of people to brainwashing is the spiritual dimension, right? The lack of belief, the lack of protective beliefs. Because the truth is, an open mind is a really dangerous thing, right? An open mind, we have to think of having an open mind as being good. But it's only good in contexts where it allows you to understand what the truth is, right? You can have a mind that's open to hearing things that are true. But if your mind is open and that causes you to believe things which are false or believe things that are harmful, then it's actually, there's no virtue to an open mind. The real virtue is being able to discern between lies and falsehoods. And the fact is, most people not only are impaired in their faculties to do this, but never approach what they're doing in life with that mindset in mind. They turn on the news tells them something, they accept the information is true, and then they react to it emotionally and maybe do something. There was this term that the left came up with called stochastic terrorism. If you don't know what stochasm is, it's noise, right? And I used this in one of my stories called Farewell to Once and Future Kings. For those of you who read it, if you were on the Patreon and you got it, right, it's basically noise. And if you increase the noise level, you can actually see patterns emerge. And so that's what this is that by constantly demonizing. Now, see, they try to project it onto this is what Trump's doing. It's the opposite. Okay. It's what they're doing, right? By making Trump into Hitler, by constantly talking about how evil he and everybody like him is. And of course, logically, if he's evil, everybody who agrees with him is also evil, which is most people now, most people in America, right? So he's evil. If he's evil, that justifies all kinds of things, including assassinating him, right? Like if you could go back in time and kill, like he's Hitler. If you could go back in time and kill Hitler, would you? So then you're going to have a lot of individuals who are going to think, I should kill Hitler, right? I'm the guy who's back in time to kill Hitler, and I should go do that. You have multiple people who've decided that they were going to kill Trump. Now, Charlie Kirk is a much smaller figure than Trump, and he really is not. He's a political figure, but he's not a politician, right? He's not an official. He's merely like a person of ideas. He's a media personality. So it would be like killing Rachel Maddow. That would be insane. Like most people would not condone that, but that's where we're at. He said the things that are bad, and therefore he deserves to die. The spiritual thing, I've called this the death cult. I started using this term almost 10 years ago. And of course, like a lot of things that I really am on the edge of, no one's going to remember that I'm the one who used this term, the death cult. But I call it the death cult because they're obsessed with death, right? They are obsessed with not only you dying, they're obsessed with their culture dying, right? You're like, well, I would like for my culture to not die. And like, well, we'll kill you if you don't let it die, right? They're obsessed with their lineage dying out, which is why they don't have kids. They're obsessed with abortion. They're obsessed with all of these things with death. It's a death cult. And this is just another piece of that to emerge out of it. So when you are sending out all of this information, telling people how evil everyone is, some people are going to pop up. They're going to be the individuals that pop up. And it's predictable because we have seen it happen. You use this rhetoric. Some people take it to heart. They're part of the cult. They believe that it is spiritually necessary for them to assassinate someone like Charlie Kirk, and then they'll go do it. Okay, this is different from traditional ways of convincing people things. Like we're going to convince everybody that this is the way to do it, and we're going to go to the polls and do it, or we're going to get together and we're going to take a vote and declare war on something. This is different. This is more like terrorist cells, right? This is putting out enough of a strong message, and it's always a moral message that you know that certain people are going to are going to emerge from that noise and do the thing that you want them to do. The natural thing that is, of course, morally justified if you take all of their rhetoric seriously, which is to murder the people who are saying the bad things. And you know that they're bad because we've declared all of them to be Nazis, and you punch your local Nazi, right? Like, just execute violence against bad people. Like, why would you object to punching Nazis? Because you call everybody a Nazi. So you're just saying punch anybody you don't like. And that's the next step. Kill anybody you don't like. Kill the people who disagree with you because they're evil. And they're evil because we use the bad guy word for them. They have the bad guy word attached to them. Therefore, they're the bad guys. Therefore, you're completely, not only are you in the clear to kill them, you're morally obligated to kill them. Some people are going to take that to heart. Yes, your average lefty, your average CNN watcher, your average Facebook doom scroller of loving the left, they are too much of a pussy to do anything, but some people are not, and some people are going to really take those messages to heart, and they're going to do the things that you want them to do, which is to murder your opposition. And what's the point? Why kill Charlie Kirk when he's not an official, right? It's to have that chilling effect, right? What was my wife's first reaction is you should get rid of YouTube, right? You should shut the fuck up. And that's the point. The point is, you say the same things, you should shut the fuck up too, because we'll kill you. So if you don't shut up, we'll kill you. Which lets you know that there's really no argument. Like, what's the point in arguing if their response to the argument is to kill you? What's the point in arguing at that point? And I've often asked this question: what is the point of your words? Like, who are you really convincing? How many people have really been persuaded on something? I think to be persuaded, when I talk about that open mind, I think to be persuaded, you have to be in a place where you're willing and able to accept information that's new. Most people, I don't think, are that way. I think most people don't come in with the mindset of I'm willing and I'm looking for new information, and I want to have new information. They are passively receive information and internalize it as fact. That can be good, that can be bad. It depends on what you're putting in there. The reason I call religious beliefs protective is that this is a death cult. These are religious beliefs. It's a moral imperative to murder people that you disagree with, at least for the people that are doing it. So given that it's a moral imperative, if you have a stronger and superior morality, then you will be resistant to that information taking hold. Like I said, an open mind is a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing if you don't have any way to discern right from wrong. If you don't have a set belief that guides you, then you can be convinced to act on behalf of the devil, right? Let's take a look at the chat and see what they have to say before I get to any other topics. The big one is, hey, what's the big difference between you and Charlie Kirk? Is that he had an audience and you didn't. So the point is to get you to, they hate you and they want you dead. And they hope that if you won't die, at least you will shut up and let them kill you. So you can live just a little bit longer. But I'm not going to do that, right? Someone has a pure black cat. I had one too, and we loved her. She was great. I have a ragdoll too. He used to be white as a kitten, but now he has dark hairs too. He shows on any clothes. Yeah, he's sweet. Yeah, Lux. There's the name of that track. The people reveling in his murder are sick. Go to any liberal media comment section. Go to Blue Sky. Go to Facebook. People love it. They love it, right? It excites them. It causes them maybe even sexual excitement. I don't know. Why are they so excited by it? They're not in it, It's like being pulled this way and that, like they're on a soap opera. Propagandized zealot murders, gun self-advocate. Evil people laugh at irony. It's sad that some people hate people for their views and want them dead. Yes, but this is the world we live in. Yep. War is politics by other means. It all started when one side ceased societal shaming. So shaming is an interesting idea. Shaming keeps a lot of people in line. Now, you don't shame someone just to punish that person, but rather to send a message that their behavior was unacceptable. because you don't want to get shamed, right? So if you shame the slut, you'll get fewer sluts. If you refuse to shame the slut, people will become hedonists because there's no shame in it. Why would they feel shame if there's no shame? Like, why would they not do a thing if there's no shame? So if there's shame, you actually don't need laws for a lot of these things, right? If it's shameful to smoke drugs on the corner, then people won't do it, right? If they have social consequences for doing it, they won't do it. The problem is that once we have this iron and clay, once our society becomes diverse and full of iron and clay, where no one has the shared values and there's no community and there's no social consequence to someone smoking dope at the park, you have to create a law that you can't smoke at the park. You have to, for the benefit of everybody. The oppressive state becomes necessary and becomes more and more necessary the more diverse the society gets. The smaller and more tightly knit the society, the better the community, the less of that actual tyranny that is required in order to maintain peace and stability and happiness. It's sort of a joke, like, why are the, I don't know how safe they are now, but like, why are the trains safe in Sweden? It's because they're full of Swedes, right? They're full of Swedes. Oh, I hope you can't hear that fan. Another computer in here started up and started making a bad fan noise. I might have to do something about that because it'll bug me in a little bit. C.S. Lewis said that the devil always sends his errors out into the world in opposite pairs so that people will flee from one into the open arms of the opposite. Yes. Yeah, and you can actually see this with church history. So there's equal and opposite errors when it comes to Christology. One was Arianism, that Christ was somehow not fully God, and the other opposite error was Gnosticism, that Christ wasn't human, or maybe like Nestorianism. Gnosticism would be more extreme, which is like the body is bad and the body isn't really you. But like Nestorianism, where like the body, like Christ's body was separate from his divine self, right? So you can make equal and opposite errors, with the orthodox, the straight way being kind of down the middle. And we see that a lot. We just see that a lot, And it's the same thing with like libertarianism versus communism. It's like, if you go full anarchy, then you find that the only conditions where that's possible are going to be places where there's basically rule by social order. Like little tiny tribes can be anarchistic, but it doesn't work as soon as you have a multitude of people with different wants and needs. You have to have some way to mitigate some way to mediate the competing claims on things. Certain people have come to view Nazis as the epitome of all evil and think that the way to be good is to go as far as opposite direction every way possible, fleeing to the opposite errors. Yeah, they lionize Stalin. They lionize communism because the USSR fought Nazi Germany, not realizing that these are both really bad things, and you shouldn't do either one. Now, here's another thing, too, is if you are... I think the rhetoric has had an effect that most of the propagandists did not anticipate. If you call everyone Nazis, what is the result of calling people Nazis constantly and constantly referencing Hitler for everything? Is now you have a major contingent of the younger generations who think the Holocaust wasn't real or think the Nazis weren't the bad guys, right? It's like, well, you're calling all the good people Nazis. Maybe the Nazis actually weren't that bad, right? All you've done is made it so that people have started to second guess the post-war narrative about the evils of the Third Reich, which wasn't the point. The point was, well, this is settled and no one would ever disagree. But by being so overzealous with calling people Nazi, you end up just throwing the entire narrative into doubt. That's what's happened, right? Now people are more critical of Israel. Like, you kind of open Pandora's box about that stuff. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto. In Red Dead 2, the honor system gives you honor for helping people, helping the poor, fighting bandits, etc. I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2, actually. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Yeah, this is the thing I said years ago. If you believe in nothing, you'll believe anything. And this still holds true, is that the people I've known who are atheists tend to hold some of the strangest Like, they tend to be the most gullible people and the most easily brainwashed. Doesn't mean they always are, but overall, they tend to be far more gullible about, they just don't have a critical eye towards the information that they're getting, right? They maybe like the way the news makes them feel. They believe it for that reason. They're not nearly as rational as they like to think they are. Actually, that leads me to a topic. Okay, let's transition away to a different topic before we go to other things. Actually, let me finish the chat, and then I'll talk about this topic, which is why people hate atheists. There's one guy in Red R2 who does nothing but say racist things, and if the player shoots him, the honor system doesn't punish you as it would for other NPCs. That's silly. If one doubts shame, look at the recent years where society acted like a clown show with masks and lockdowns via the power of shaming. Now, that's true, but that shame only worked on certain people. And the shame only worked with things that they were told to feel shame about. So while they feel shame about, wearing masks and things like that, because the media told them to do that, they don't feel shame about smoking dope because they don't view their neighbors as people. They want their neighbors to wear masks. They want to try to shame their neighbors into wearing masks because Rachel Maddow said to do it or something, or they saw it on NBC. And they want to smoke dope in the park, and they don't care what their neighbors think about it. You know what I mean? But the other side of that is that it wasn't shame that made people go and get vaccinated. They were just afraid of losing their job. It was just force. Most people, if you talk to them that got it, would be like, I would never have gotten it unless I hadn't been forced to do it. Like, I would have lost my livelihood, and it's like, you had an option not to do it. You could have just quit your job and lost your house and lost your car and lost your wife and your children and lost everything in your life by not getting they're going to get the shot, right? They're like slaves. You're a slave to your income, the way that our society's set up, So there's a point to that, right? Like, shame can work. But the more diverse the society gets, the less shame works because my community can't shame an outsider. He feels no shame. He doesn't care about our beliefs. Just like how the immigrants don't care about your non-aggression principle. They don't care. They'll use the state to force you to do whatever they want. They don't care about the non-aggression principle. Today in Congress, Lauren Boebert requested a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk. Multiple Democrats, including Jasmine Crockett, yelled, "No!" Mike Johnson had to bring the gavel. I believe that, right? And this is what happened is, like, someone called for prayer, and then Gavin Newsom's Twitter profile was quote tweeting them about how prayer does nothing, and he's supposed to be Catholic, but because he's married to a Jew, his children are Jewish. That's the way that works, by the way, is that in order to be Jewish, your mother must be Jewish, right? Yeah. So eerie to see them have such a visceral reaction to the mere mention of prayer. I do not agree with Kirk all the time, but my God, man, his poor wife and young children. As a father, I can't imagine leaving this world and my wife and young daughter that way. I can imagine it. I can easily imagine it. That's not good, but I can imagine it. Forget about the danger of broadcasting an opinion on the internet. You can't even express an opinion in mixed company. It's true. Yeah, atheists have pretty bad epistemology. Jonathan Paju made some good videos about the consequences of the Nazis essentially replacing Satan as the ultimate symbol of evil, as well as the problem of people going into the opposite extreme. Yeah. Well, when you're an atheist, you can't believe Satan is real, but you still need some great Satan, and it's Hitler, right, or the Nazis, but it's really Trump. Trump is the great Satan right now. Are you a Christian? Yes. I think the Cold War helped to keep a cultural balance where people recognize both Nazism and communism as bad, but then the Cold War ended and the evils of communism ceased to be publicized. Imagine mocking thoughts and prayers. Yeah. Anyway. So, why do people hate atheists? I'm going to tell you a story. So I'm going to try to lighten the mood and be a little bit sillier for a minute. So I saw this great video. I'm not going to link the video because I would hate for a bunch of strangers to bombard the video and, I don't know, troll the guy, right? Because it's a small channel. The guy's just trying to communicate his thoughts. He's trying to do his thing. And it's mostly like, it's not really a negative video. He made this video, Why Do People Hate Atheists? And it's basically a like Stuart Smalley video. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people don't like me because they are threatened by the idea that there's not a God. No. It was a bunch of rationalizing for like, why don't people like atheists? I'll tell you the reason people don't like atheists. People don't like atheists because of their insufferable personalities. Now, here's the caveat. Most atheists don't have insufferable personalities and are fine. Most of the atheists I know, there's probably some atheists watching this. I have some friends from the channel that are atheists, and they're fine. So why do people believe that atheists have insufferable personalities? And that's because if you get into a discussion with someone and you know they're an atheist, right? It's kind of like the bad toupee, like the fallacy of the bad toupee. You know they're an atheist because they tell you and they won't shut the hell up. And they're really, really obnoxious to be around because all they want to talk about is Christ cucks and your God is bad, and they're terrible atheist arguments. The average person is not an apologist, Christian apologist. They don't want to engage in apologetics all of the time. But atheists, actually atheists are that way too. But some of those atheists are like their purpose, their inner identity revolves around being an atheist. And so they are constantly engaging in atheist apologetics all the time, everywhere. And they have to rationalize why people don't like them other than you're just insufferable and you won't shut the hell up, right? They have to rationalize that. Oh, they're threatened by my arguments. No, you're just, you went to the block party and called everyone a Christ cuck and started getting points out of a bad Christopher Hitchens book that everybody's heard before and nobody wants to talk to you about that. Right? Most atheists are fine, but you don't know them because they're not sitting there talking all the time about why every religion, and by every religion, they always mean Christianity, why Christianity is bad. So yes, the reason people hate atheists is because of insufferable personalities. This is if you don't know what the fallacy of the toupee is, it's like every toupee I see is bad. You're not seeing the good toupees. The good toupees, you don't see them at all. So people that just don't have a belief in God and just live, you find that out through knowing them as friends, but you don't, like, it's never an issue because they're not a dick about it, especially if you're not a dick about like what you believe as well. But in this video, and it gave me a feeling of nostalgia because it was very reminiscent of videos that I would see on YouTube circa 2013, 2015 maybe, where people were making all of these little video essays about atheism and why Christianity is bad. And these were videos made by atheists for atheists. So they weren't really intending to answer the question of why people hate atheists, because that answer would make you uncomfortable. It's like, why do people hate atheists? Because you're annoying and insufferable. It's you. No, people don't like atheists because they're bad. My lady. Yeah. It's because when you're having a conversation with an atheist, especially online, you know that they're an atheist because they won't shut up about it. And they won't, everything becomes about how religion's bad. And by religion, they always mean Christianity. That's the only religion they ever attack. They think Judaism's great because if they were to say Judaism's bad, they might incur the wrath of Sithis. They might be thought of as racist, anti-Semitic, Yeah. Pretension begets atheism. Some people just don't believe things. And so that's not who I'm talking about. But it's one of the atheists that I meet. Every atheist I meet is a gigantic asshole who has the same bad arguments over and over again and won't listen to anything you have to say, and is not interested in arguments. He's just spouting his talking points. So yeah, this video it just reminded me of like the old atheist content on old YouTube. It just gave me this funny nostalgic feeling. It's like, there's a whole bunch of things, like people are threatened by it. It's like, no, you just have a bad personality. It's you. It's like, religion's used to control the masses. It's like, no, people sincerely believed. The reason atheism was like a capital offense in pagan Rome is because you were threatening the Pax Deorum. You had to participate in the state rituals to keep the gods on your side. They believed it. But even then, if they didn't believe it, it's like, doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. What matters is that you do the rites, because there might be a Jupiter. So we have to keep Jupiter on our side. People fervently believe it. They just can't believe that Christians would actually. Why do people care about atheism? Because, well, first of all, Christians believe that you should go to heaven. They want you there. They want to save your soul. They want you to be good. They want you to not suffer perdition because of your arrogance or your lack of belief, right? Or your the evil deeds that you do. That's why. If someone tells you your soul is in danger, that's not an act of hatred. That's an act of love. They're trying to save you. But they can't believe that someone would fervently believe this. Another reason people care about atheism is atheists vote. And if we look at the patterns, we see that atheists overwhelmingly vote badly. Atheists are the people who killed Charlie Kirk. Now, sort of, right? They might identify as atheists. If I go to a deeper spiritual level, I think it's a religious sentiment. Even if they are in rebellion against God, they don't really lack a religion. They've just replaced it with this secular death cult. Right. Had all those sorts of stuff. Couldn't really believe that people, it's all projection. They're like, Christians project this. I'm like, you're just projecting that people can't sincerely hold their beliefs. People can sincerely hold beliefs, including beliefs in God, and want you to convert because they believe that would be good for you. People can also, in the ancient past, hold those beliefs that you need to participate for the Pax Deorum. That's why atheism was considered a really bad thing in the past. People don't like atheists basically just because every time they have an interaction with someone that wants you to know that they're an atheist, it's a bad interaction, right? Now, atheists, you're still not top of the pile when it comes to insufferable personalities. I used to think like online atheist was like the most insufferable personality. But I know vegans. Vegans are way more insufferable. Because it's all of the arrogance of atheism without any of the good arguments. Their arguments are all moral, right? It's like you shouldn't eat animals because they feel things. It's like, but you are happy when Charlie Kirk gets murdered but he felt things, right? Cyclists. Once we have dash cams and once people have phones, we're like, oh yeah, cyclists are the worst people on planet Earth. They will purposefully crash into your car and be mad at you when they could press the brakes. They will, they're just the most insufferable people. Most insufferable people online by far. They think everything should get out of their way. No one should drive cars. Everyone should drive a bicycle. As someone who was deep in the 2010s atheist movement, you're right. The biggest downfall was the movement falling into the progressive traps. Them champions, the crazy left policies pushed me out. Yes, and that's what it is that there's people talk about the God-sized hole, but I'm pretty convinced that that's real. And the reason is because when you take out those protective beliefs, whatever they might be, you fill that gap in with some other model that's going to give you the right. Because here's the thing. Reality is too complex to just empirically understand. Most of the data is fake. You have to go off faith for like 80 to 90 to 99% of what you're doing. So you can't really be like an objective rationalist. The reality is just too complex. You need a formative set of beliefs that are going to tell you what to do and when and how to do it and what's right and what's wrong. Morality are going to be paths to action. What is the correct thing to do here? So atheists just replace all of the, ancient religious scaffolding of information for how you should act and what you should do and how you should interpret things. They just replace that with something else. And the closest thing usually is communism for whatever reason, because communism, it has a bunch of religion. Communism is very religious. Communism has a belief in human nature where like man is perfectible and man is malleable, and the nature of man can be changed into a man who can do communism, right? If you look at the writings of Karl Marx, it's very religious. It's actually very religious. It tells the myth of a man ascending out of his fallen state into a triumphant state that is communism, where through the proletariat overthrows the capitalist system and seizes the means of production, and then socialism emerges, and then from socialism man is reformed back into the golden man of Aristotle. He becomes the golden man again, and then the state withers away like an unneeded appendage, like an appendix, right? It just withers away, and then you're left with total harmony, because man has been formed into a perfect being through communism. Through socialism, you can arrive at like that utopia of communism. Those are religious beliefs. And most of what the left believes, and they think of as secular rational beliefs, aren't really rational. And I know because they don't really stand up to arguments, and they're dismantled by so many arguments, but people persist to believe in them. They are mostly moral. And so in order to defeat a moral, I've had Brian Niemeyer on the show many times. He'll tell you, in order to defeat a moral, what did it say? In order to defeat a moral vision, you have to have a superior moral vision. And so the moral vision of the atheist just tends to replace God with a different moral vision. And that moral vision is going to be communism, more often than not. It's what makes sense to them. And communism works for a lot of those things because it has morality. It tells you what you need to do, tells you how you need to vote, tells you how you need to act. It gives you excuses for why the world is the way it is. The world is bad because of capitalism and the evil capitalists who do these things. It's the system that's bad, and so we got to fix the system. Whereas religion, like Christianity, has a lot of beliefs that explain the way the world is. We have a fallen nature, we have a clouded nous, right? The world is bad because we're bad and because our nature has been flawed and we've fallen away from God. God gives us a path to reclaim the likeness of God and rejoin with him and be made perfect like we were intended to be all along. But this earth is fallen, and you're going to expect these things from people. And it's a very good model. It's a very good model for how people act and how you ought to act in the world. And the more we've enforced Christian morality, the better life has gotten. So good, in fact, that all of the good things that the atheist takes for granted, like his ability to not be murdered for what he's saying, which is debatable now, right? That is fundamentally arises out of the Christian tradition. That you can be able to say things and not die. And it took a long time to get there too. It wasn't like that happened overnight. It wasn't like that was like an overnight thing. But the idea that, women have moral standing and women have rights, women deserve protection. A lot of these things are from the Christian tradition. Whereas if you look at, say, pagan Greece, it's very misogynistic by comparison. There's very little trust of women, or there tends to be views that women are, in some cases not human, right? There's models of religious belief that don't view women as like fully human beings. So a lot of that is, we talk about those errors of the extremes, just taking Christian morality to an extreme that's never been meant to have. You get to enjoy the protections of a very nice, orderly society by advocating for the overthrow of that nice, orderly society. The atheist doesn't live in ancient Greece where he'd be killed for his atheism. There's one of the accusations against Socrates, if I'm not mistaken. He lives in America where we've created this system of God-given rights. Man is endowed by his creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, pursuit of happiness. Is the most insufferable person a vegan, atheist, cyclist then? I think cyclist automatically adopts the other two. So most of the cyclists I've met are vegans and are atheists and are liberals. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what attracts them to riding bicycles. And the current trend, Christ conscious, those who are trying to double talk with Christian inclusive phrases. Yeah, I think of like James Lindsay. I would be upset if James Lindsay had been killed, even though I intensely dislike him. I don't want James Lindsay to die. I agree that vegans are also super annoying. I've actually raised the beef I hate. Meanwhile, I got them trying to tell me what it's like for an animal when they've never seen a cow. Yeah, and I worked in the poultry industry. Oh, that's another one. Okay, here's another topic. Right? Okay. This guy on Twitter making this thing about how he blasted his rooster with a 12-gauge shotgun. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I don't know if I can find it now. Basically... Pone Gorilla. I'll find it in a minute. He's like, this chicken attacked my son, so I blasted it with a 12-gauge shotgun. I'm like, well, I mean, you're allowed to do that with roosters. Roosters can be pretty ornery, but I don't know if you guys knew this, but you can just grab a rooster with your hands. It's if you know how to do it, it's not that hard. You can grab it with your hands and pull it under your arm. So you pull its legs under your arm like this. That rooster's not going anywhere. He's not going to peck you to death. You could throw him in the coop or chop his head off or whatever you need to do with him. But it was so funny the way the guy worded it. It's like, this guy was pecking my son, so I shot him with a shotgun. I'm like, was he still pecking your son when you shot the chicken with a shotgun? That's like saying, oh, the fire ants are attacking my son. Hold still. I got some number 8 bird shot. I'm going to kill those fire ants. Total fire ant death. I mean, how insane is that? But the way I don't think he did that. I think he like took the rooster away and shot it with a shotgun. Like you could cut its head off or something, right? Or, I mean, roosters can be mean. If you've never had roosters can be pretty bad. Okay. All right. Let me find some other. I got to get at my other. Give me a second. I'm going to get my other. X account on here because I am. Let me get it open here. Man, my password's funny. All right. Yes. What do I have in my bookmarks? Okay, let's find it. Okay, let's check it out. Here we go. All right. Okay. Oh, here it is. All right, I'll show it to you guys. Boom. Get home. Let chickens out. Rooster attacks my nephew. Not his son, his nephew. Rooster says hello to my 12 gauge. Can't post the dead bird because Twitter allows literal war crime footage, but not dead animals for some reason. I hope that the rooster was not pecking your nephew when you shot it with the shotgun. That was the other one I was gonna talk about here. I can't find it. We can talk about Africa time. Africa time. It's always time for Africa time. That's an old one now, though. The baseball Karen. Okay, I can find this one. Give me a minute. I'll find it. So, yes, you guys saw the woman who stole the baseball from the guy and his son. I got to show this. I got to show this to you. Let's find it here. Okay, here it is. See, this is what we should use AI for right here. This is what we should use AI for. Did she actually walk away and like hold the ball like this? I haven't been able to find footage of her actually doing this, but it's just so perfect. Like it's just amazing. She takes the ball away. Now the kid ended up getting a signed baseball bat. And other people have just been slamming this dad for giving the ball. But what are you going to do? She's yelling. If you hit her, you're going to go to jail and get fired and never be able to do anything good again, ever. So yeah, you give her the ball, and then the team makes good on you. You know, the team sees that you were a good guy and makes it up to the son, and that's cool. That's probably the best outcome we could have hoped for. Was that. All birds bigger than a finch are convinced they're still dinosaurs. I remember this part in Book of the New Sun, where they were telling these stories, and one of the stories that a guy was telling was about this rooster fighting an angel. It's pretty rad. It was a pretty cool story. Got to look that one up again. That's a great couple of books to read. It's Book of the New Sun if you've never read those. By Gene Wolfe. They are fantastic. They are fantastic books. Okay, let's see. What else are we going to look at here? Where's my bookmarks? Okay, yes. Fake students. Plague community college. Okay, so there's a bunch of fake students in American community colleges. 1.2 million fake applicants last year, accounting for nearly 30% of new students, blocking real students from classes and costing millions in stolen financial aid, according to college officials. The problem, exacerbated by the shift to online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, affects at least 90 of the state's 116 campuses. And Martin Martinez, chancellor of Rancho Santiago Community College District, and Jeannie Keene, president of Santiago Canyon College. So I'm going to tell you, I actually used to teach community college. For those of you who don't know, I taught at a university and I taught at a college, community college, 2-year college. So this is nothing new. Now, the whole point of this scam I'm going to talk about is really to get welfare money. So what would happen is you could sign up for community college. This was in California years ago. You could sign up for community college, and basically you get a big fat welfare check. You get a bunch of financial aid that would be given to you. Free financial aid, not like student loans, but just money from the government. You could fill out this application for free financial student aid. You said you were like an emancipated minor or something and didn't live with your parents anymore, or you just faked your parents' income and said they made $20,000 a year. They never really checked. Okay. And it rolled into college, and they would give you like $15,000 a semester to go to college. So what would happen at the community college is my classes, and I taught guitar, right? My classes would be absolutely packed the first day with students trying to get into the class. All my classes would be completely booked up. Completely full every single semester. And actually, one of the reasons I stopped working there was they cut my classes and my hours basically without telling me. Even though every single section of all my classes was completely full, and I always had to add more. So it was basically like, these are going to be classes of like 150 guitar students. It's going to be bad, right? Anyway. So what they would do is they would show up, they'd sign up for classes, they'd get their financial aid check, go deposit it, and then they would never show up again. And the way community college works is that there's no academic probation. You don't get kicked out of community college because you fail your classes. So yes, they would fail all their classes, but it didn't matter because they didn't care about that. They just cared about getting, whatever the financial aid was, 5 or 10 or 15 grand or whatever they were getting from the government to go to college. Well, they wised up to that, right? The financial aid people wised up to that. So they said, okay, if you get dropped from the class, we won't issue the financial aid check. We're going to issue the financial aid checks at 6 weeks. So what would happen is my classes would be full. After 6 weeks, they would be empty because all the students would do nothing, by the way. They wouldn't make any effort. They'd show up and attend classes for 6 weeks, get their financial aid check, and then disappear because at 6 weeks, you could no longer just drop them. You couldn't drop them from the class. You had to keep them in there and you could give them an F, right? So, and that's when they give them the financial aid checks. So yes, fake students has been a problem for a long time. I would estimate at certain times 50% of my students were fake. And so realizing this, this was the same thing. I mean, I had this, it's a separate issue at the university, but like, I would add whoever showed up first day, and I would tell them like, hey, if you, and my students would be like, I can't get into classes. I'm like, just show up the first day to the class you want to get into and tell the professor what's up. I know this class is full, but lots of people are going to drop. Can you please add me? I promise I'm not going to drop, and they'll probably add you. So I would add everyone. So first week, my guitar classes, their max enrollment was 30. I would enroll 60 kids sometimes. 6 weeks would hit, it would drop back down to 25, 30 people. Okay. It'd be totally manageable at that point. But it would be pretty crazy for the first 6 weeks or so because of all the students that were trying to add to get their financial aid checks. And once they got their financial aid checks, they would usually just sort of disappear off into the horizon. And I would never see them again. And they wouldn't suffer any consequences. They would just enroll the next semester, hang out for 6 weeks, get their financial aid check, disappear again. So that's what's going on here is you basically have people who are signing up for online classes and not going to collect a financial aid check. It's just a big scam. How can you get around that? Well, you can not give people financial aid. That's an option. Everybody loves financial aid because of the egalitarian aspects of it. These people are too poor to go to college, so we'll give them aid to go to college. And now, meanwhile, the community college was like $50 a credit. So, a couple $100 to go to a community college, and you could make your own schedule so you could work through community college. Most of the people did anyway. So financial aid was always kind of not needed at that level, but that was the easiest way to scam it, was to go in there and you got financial aid for your tuition, but also your living expenses, which they would use California average. So if you were in like the Central Valley, you would get a pretty big financial aid check, and it was a really cheap place to live in California. So yeah, a lot of fraud I saw as a community college professor. Okay. To be fair, if someone starts going crazy at me in public over a ball, they flag themselves as mentally unstable. And if I have my kid with me, priority is ending the conflict ASAP. Yeah, I think that's what the guy did with the baseball. I think his whole thing was to, de-escalate the situation, get into a better position, stop his son from being hurt, and deal with the fallout after the fact. It's great that the internet has made education fraud faster and easier than ever. Progress. Not just that. The students are fake. They sign up. They have the AI go to the virtual classroom. They have the AI write the papers for them. The professor takes the papers that are emailed and he puts them into an AI to have the AI grade them. And then he uses an AI to assign the grades. And the whole thing is, it's that Soviet thing. You pretend to do the work and I pretend to grade it. And as long as somebody's paying the tuition, so, why would the college professor be against financial aid fraud? It lets him have a job. This was something I realized, man. It's like the teachers really didn't have a strong incentive to like get rid of financial aid or stop the fraud, because a lot of them would lose a job. Like they have jobs because of the fraud. If 30% of the students are fraudulent, that means like you need 30% fewer teachers than what you got. And by the way, there's a super easy solution to AI. Everybody knows what it is. It's the Blue Book. You make the kids write their essays by hand onto paper, and then you grade them yourself with your human eyes and your human brain. That's how you do it. And you know that the person hasn't cheated because you're watching them. You're watching them not cheat. You're watching them not use an AI to cheat. No phones allowed. Okay. And then you can do oral questions too. You have to orally defend your thesis. Good luck. Okay. There's lots of ways to get around the problems with AI, but professors are lazy too. They're like, well, I'll just use the AI to grade it because it's too much to read all these essays. Okay. My whole thing with teachers is like, they're like, I have to spend all this time grading homework. I'm like, you could just not assign homework. Like, what? But then I can't punish Billy for not doing his homework. If I don't give homework, how will I fail Billy when he gets an A on every test without doing his homework? I have to. I have to assign homework or I can't fail Billy, who I fucking hate. You know, you'd be surprised the amount of teachers that have like basically, you know, their argument for homework is really, it comes down to there's two arguments for homework. Number one is the school day is not long enough. Number two is children deserve to suffer. And that's the one is like, I don't, you know, Billy is a lazy layabout and he shouldn't pass my class. Why? Why shouldn't he pass your class for being lazy? Well, because he's lazy and I don't like him. So he has a F in homework and therefore I'm going to make it so you have to have a C in homework to pass my class. It's like, what about the tests? Well, he gets an A on those, but he's probably cheating. Could be he's not an idiot and he can pass the tests and he knows the subject matter and you should just give him an A. And I'm like, no. I know Adrian is in the chat. He was one of my students in California. And I remember when the administration, we had this thing that they were trying to do and I was all for it, but you know, I don't know. I'm not your typical teacher. Anyway, it was like, we're going to have mastery based grading and all the teachers were like ready to chop off the principal's head for saying that you could only assign 10% of a grade to homework because the point was you're going to assess them based on their mastery. And so the student has to master all of the standards to a certain level in order to pass the class. And that's what it's supposed to be. If you have a B in math, it should mean you have basic mastery of all the concepts in that class, right? That's what it means to me. And they're like, but how can we, if we can't assign homework, then that's what they came down to. It's like, if we can't assign homework, then Jose is going to pass. And that's not fair because he doesn't do homework. It's like, why doesn't Jose do homework? It could be that he's bored. Could be that he has no parents at home to make him do homework. You're just punishing him for not having active parents. You know, it's like, there's so many bad arguments for homework and I saw all of them. But that, you know, a big one was like, I can't punish children. I can't force children to suffer. You know, I can't make the children suffer enough if I don't have them have homework. You know, it will never not be weird to hear your teacher, no matter how many years it's been since you took their class, cussing. Sorry. You know, but yeah, it's like, I remember Jose too. I remember all the Jose's. I remember Jose and Jesus and Juan, such good students of mine. You know, is USA public schooling your children mandatory or else? So it depends where you're at. You don't have to send them to public school. You have to school them in most places. So schooling of some kind is compulsory, whether you're doing a homeschool thing, which in California, I had like basically a charter school that managed the grades and stuff. And then I was for my kids. Or you could do a private school, like a parochial school, a religious school, or just a private school. Or you can send them to the government school. You know, most places schooling is compulsory, meaning you have to do it. And if you don't, you can go to jail. And here's the thing is like, I remember there were parents that got threatened with jail time for refusing to send their kids to school. There was a couple in Tulare, some weirdo, like meth head kind of skinhead hillbilly types. They refused to send their kids to school and they actually got jailed for like 100 days in Tulare County, which is one of the counties in Central California. Were the boomers worse at using homework to punish kids? I feel like they were. I was doing some thinking last night about why I didn't like school, and I think a lot of it came down to the teachers. My baby boomer teachers were, and I had older teachers that I liked, and I had younger teachers that I liked. Like my Gen X teachers, I liked them. My boomer teachers, I was like, I generally didn't like them. They seemed like they hated kids. That's the best way. It's like I had all these teachers that hated kids, you know, and they like to punish kids and they always wanted the kids to be suffering. You need to be listen, you're in 5th grade now. We have 2 hours a night of homework. I'm like, okay, well, let me tell you what my day is like. It's like I wake up at 7 and I come to school and school starts at 8 o'clock sharp, right? And then I'm at school until 3 o'clock. And then I have to go to soccer practice until 6. And then I have to go home and do homework until bedtime. I'm 10. I want to just play with Legos. When I get home, I want to play with Legos. So I got in trouble for like not doing homework for a while. Plus I was in a GATE program so what I had to do, and I'm not trying to vent about how bad my childhood was, but it's like, as a parent, I would never subject my children to this. And I didn't, you're a kid, so you don't know how to evaluate this and tell your mom, like, Mom, I don't want to do GATE because it's just more work for no benefit. But like, they would take me and put me on a bus and bus me to another school on like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'd be gone all day. And I would take special advanced classes in math and stuff like that. And I'd have homework for those classes. Then they would bus me back. It looks like I'm having some kind of little camera error here. I'm sorry if that's the case. So then they would bus me back. And then my mom, and then I'd go to daycare or something after school. But I would have all the homework for the day that I missed at regular school that I'd also have to do. All the schoolwork and homework. So I would have 2 extra days worth of homework. Really, it was like, hours and hours of extra homework every week that I'd have to do for the GATE. And then I'd have to do all of the schoolwork and all of the homework for every day that I wasn't in school too. So it became just horrible. I just like felt like I didn't have a childhood when I was 10. And I did. Like eventually I would just like not do homework and get in trouble because I'm like, I would get home. I was just exhausted. I was mentally exhausted. I just, to conjure up the will. And this is the thing is like, I didn't think of the results of it. I was just like, I don't want to have to do 5 pages of history, busy work and write an essay and rewrite it in pen and blah, 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 blah. It's like, it was so brutal to be a 10-year-old, it was awful. That's in my 5th grade year was probably the worst school year that I ever experienced because I had to do everything. I was in every activity. I was in every extracurricular. I was in sports all year round. I was doing 2 days a week of GATE. And then like the teacher that I had, I'm trying to remember her name and it's not coming to me, but she decided like 5th grade was like the year of you should be punished severely for being a child. So she would give just mounds and mounds of homework. You'd have 30 minutes of homework in every subject every night. And then homework over the weekends, which all the kids hated it. But like, you'd have to do it. You have to do your busy work. Did you do your busy work? You bad little kid. And I still got good grades. But like, I don't think I really like just I stopped doing homework when I was in 6th grade at one point. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I got in huge trouble and did it again in 7th grade. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I got in major trouble. I had to sit down and have a parent conference and they tell you how bad you are, and yeah. I don't know. I wish I had but it gave me more fortitude as I grew up and became an adult. And I really wish, you have a little fantasy. It's like, if it was me again and I was 10, I would just like let the punishment wash over me like a monk, just like, yes, punish me for not doing homework. I refuse. I don't care about the grades. Just fail me. Don't care. You're all stupid. And I don't care about you. The boomers loved punishing the whole class for a couple of troublemakers. I hated that. Yeah. Like, you need to make him be quiet. You need to stop talking to him. I can't stop Sean from talking to me. He's just talking. And I'm just sitting here. And I'm deaf and I can't even understand what he's saying. And I'm in trouble now. I'm going to go to the principal's office because I can't stop talking. I haven't said a word all day. I can't even understand what Sean's saying. I'm deaf. I can't understand what the teacher's saying because I'm deaf. And I'm sitting way in the back corner. That was another thing too. I remember once I was drawing or something. I used to draw these like battle scenes. I'm drawing a battle scene and I used hands on my desk like that. And I look up and the teacher's like shooting her daggers out of freaking eyes. And I'm like, what? And she's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what? Are you on medication? And I was like, the thing is that I actually was like taking amoxicillin for an ear infection or something. So I'm like, yes. Didn't you hear what I said? I'm like, I didn't know you were talking. You're not paying attention. I'm like, I can't hear you. Right? I can't hear what you're saying. On my thing, it's like the camera's messing up. So I'm sorry if the camera's messing up. Yeah, Sean has ADHD. I can't make him be quiet. I don't hate Sean. Sean was cool. I'm thinking of this guy I knew named Sean. His name was Sean Wheeler. He was a cool guy. Cool kid. He was the ADHD kid. He was the kid that was always punished, and everyone around him was always getting punished because Sean just couldn't. He had no task focus. Okay, he couldn't focus on any tasks. He'd do 3 math problems, and then he was squirrel. And that was Sean. It's okay. We loved Sean anyway. But I remember this, and like it's one of those core memories of like, oh, like I'm in trouble for doing nothing. And you make this like, this is pretty unjust that I got in trouble and I got yelled at and embarrassed because I couldn't hear the teacher and I didn't know what was happening. And I remember I have another memory from when I was in kindergarten. And we would go, there was a little kindergarten playground. We'd go out and play on the playground. And then there'd be like a whistle for everybody to come in back inside. Well, one time I was out there playing and I was playing by myself. And I was in my own little world for a minute, digging a hole. And I look up and everybody's gone. I'm alone. I'm alone in the world. And it's, it's like you look around and there's nobody. There's no cars. There's no people. It's just empty. And that's the way my neighborhood was, by the way. In like the 80s, like there were no adults. It's so weird to describe to people who weren't around in the 80s. Where it's like you get out of school and the school would just let all the children out. And the children would just leave and there'd be no adults. All the adults would be at work. There was no adults anywhere. It was like Children of the Corn, but somehow nothing bad happened anywhere. But anyway, I look up and everything's gone. So I go back to my classroom and I walk in and the teacher's doing something. She goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. I was alone." She's like, "Go put your head down." And I was like, "I have to put my head down." Okay. And I felt bad, but the reason was I didn't hear the whistle because I couldn't hear out of my right ear. Right. I had major hearing problems at that point. So I just couldn't hear her. And I remember I was like I was thinking about, I remember what I was thinking about at the time. Would you believe that? Maybe you don't. Maybe you think I'm just lying or something. But I remember I was thinking about crystals. I was thinking about that green crystal in the Superman movies because I had seen those recently when I was 5. And like those were cool. And I was imagining some kind of story with the crystal as I was digging. And I was thinking of this crystal medallion from like the Rats of Nim, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, this other Don Bluth animation from the 80s. So I was thinking of those and imagining things with those and just focused on what I was doing. And I didn't hear the whistle. It was a whistle, not a bell. So I didn't hear the whistle, didn't hear the kids leave, and I just realized I was by myself. The teacher never thought to come get me. The teacher never thought to see which kids were in class or not in class. And only later do I really think about like, this is actually would be completely unacceptable by today's standards. Is like, you just left the kid on the playground? Well, he didn't come when I blew the whistle. So off he stays by himself to get eaten by wolves or abducted by criminals or whatever. Like this would be a major like possible litigation issue in today's modern society. But I thought I was the bad kid for not coming back in, not hearing the whistle. And I felt bad about myself for a little bit at least. But you process as you get older. You're like, that was kind of dumb. And also, why would you not care to see if there was a kid there or not? And I remember several other times where like teachers didn't notice, like we have to line up to go back into class. You're always having to walk in lines. So we'd line up to go back into class from recess. And there were times where like the teacher wouldn't notice that a kid didn't come back from recess. Where's Charlie? I don't know where Charlie is. Is he in the bathroom? Where's Charlie? Did Charlie come back from recess? Where's Charlie? And then maybe he'd come back in, 30 minutes later. Teacher would be like, where were you? I was in the bathroom. Pull your card. He had these cards and these dumb, you pulled through these colors. You had most of them, they were blue. So you had these blue in these little pockets. And so you'd pull blue and it would be yellow. And then you'd pull yellow and it would be orange. And you pull orange and it would be a red card. And red card is like, you're out of the game. You have to go to the principal's office. You have to go to the office and talk to the principal. So, yep. I remember one time I was given so much homework that it took me from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. to finish. Not all of it was due the next day, but I wanted it all done to enjoy the weekend. Yeah. Man, that's so much. It's just an argument that there's not enough hours in the day for school, right? There's only 2 arguments for homework. Number 1, school is not long enough. Number 2, children deserve to be punished. Children should suffer. And you'd be surprised the number of teachers that go with number 2 there. They're like, children should suffer. That's why we need homework, is children should suffer. You know, children should suffer. Oh, there were some other ones. Let's talk about some other stuff. But, you know, the standard one is like the school day is not long enough. My elementary school cafeteria had a scoreboard at the end of every table that just decreased from 5 to 0 the more we talked. And if we got under 3, we wouldn't get recess. Well, my neighbor's kid, her school, the kids never get recess. They have to earn a Friday recess. There's no recess at school. Insane to me. No wonder everybody's obese. School stunk. That's why we homeschooled and still do. We are the slackers of our Catholic homeschool co-op because of that. Yeah. Oh my God, this exact recess story happened to me so far anyway. They punished me for being selfish and taking extra recess, as if that would even be fun. I really wanted to be alone. I really wanted to be alone sitting outside. Yeah. Taking extra recess. I'm like, wait. How much extra recess can I take before I got to pull my card? How much extra recess? Have you always had hearing problems? Yeah. So I've had like massive ear infections when I was a little baby. I've had 5 or 6 tympanoplasties in my right ear, reconstructive surgery. It's never worked. I have a bone anchored hearing system, which I'm not using right now because the skin around the implant is just horribly irritated all the time. I haven't talked much about this, and maybe I can talk about it in another stream or something, but occasionally people kind of go through some videos I made on my hearing aids, and they're like, do you still use them? And I don't want to answer them to be like, I don't actually. And the reason I don't is because, first of all, they're $5,000 and I had 2 break. So I'm down to 1. I have 1 left that I got basically as part of my insurance when I first got it done. And I can't afford to get another one. So that hearing aid, I've got to make sure nothing bad happens to it. Or like if I have an injury to my left ear, I just won't be able to hear without a hearing aid. I have some traditional hearing aids now. They work okay. They're not as good as the bone anchored system because they block off your regular hearing. And if you are only going to use one, it creates really weird lag. The bone anchored one creates lag as well. But sort of augmenting what hearing you have with the bone anchored hearing system. It's an implant coming out of my skull. I don't know if you guys can see it there. You can hear the click. There's a piece of titanium sticking out of my skull. But the skin around it gets so irritated, I don't like to wear it. So I don't know. I've been doing a lot of thinking about how I could try to do it. I need to get in with another ENT and see, like, is there a chance, like maybe there's some more advanced reconstructive surgery for my ossicles and my tympanic membrane. And if you like, maybe there's something they can do, like dilate the eustachian tube so that it doesn't fail again. One of the reasons that it failed, though, is my parents were always making me do swimming. And so you get a lot of water in there and it causes more ear infections, and then it destroys the graft. So I partly blame my parents for not being willing to say we're going to keep him out of swimming. Now they made me do swimming every year, and then in junior high and high school I had to do swimming every single semester as part of school. And just now I really hate swimming. I've like grown up to really hate swimming. I'm a good swimmer, and I had a pool and I liked swimming in my own pool, but it's like it's so hard to keep water out of that ear. There's no earplugs that effectively keep water out of the ear. They just don't exist. So it's a hard thing to deal with. Anyway, that's why I'm not wearing them. So I would love to maybe I'll give it an ENT, see if there's like one more reconstructive chance. And if that works, then I'm going to get that implant screwed out because it's just, it's bleeding. Like it's, guys, don't have metal sticking out of your body if you can help it. Don't have metal sticking out of your skull if you can help it. It's just a giant pain in the ass to deal with. Would I do it again? I don't know. I wish I would have maybe pursued reconstruction one more time. But at that point in my life, I was so over it, you know. So over it. It's a mystery why adults think children shouldn't talk and have fun. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what exactly is going on in their mind. You know what I mean? I literally never thought about the fact that it was an issue that they would leave me out there. Yeah. Why you just left the child out there by himself? This is a major liability here, right? Hardwick says, I'm very glad that I was homeschooled. Yeah. Not everyone does well with homeschool, and the homeschool quality is proportional to what you do with it. I try to be as good as possible as a homeschooling parent, but you know. Pulling cards in elementary school for bad behavior scared the daylight out of me. Like from green to yellow. I wish I knew it wasn't the end of the world. Yeah. Oh, thank you for the $10. Hey, buddy, I've been enjoying the emails. Thank you so much. On the Substack. Let me link the Substack. Make sure you're subscribed to the Substack. David V. Stewart. .substack.com. Would infection happen to your specific case of swimming in a natural lake or pond? Yes, actually much worse so. There's the pool water is much more sanitary than a pond. What happens is the water gets in through, I have a big hole in my eardrum. It's gigantic. So the water goes into the middle ear and causes major issues. Yeah. Yeah, it could be as simple as misery loves company. Adults don't want kids to have fun because they're miserable and they think other people should be miserable. But there's a surprising number of teachers who think children ought to be punished. All right, what's another one? Oh yeah, this is a funny one. Okay. Glamorous law student sentenced to 25 years in hellhole Dubai prison. I love the way that tabloids write. Where rape is everyday occurrence over coke bust. Now, she was caught with 2 ounces of cocaine, okay? So this was made me laugh. Her fate is 25 years of dodging rape, $136,000 fine, and never having children because she had 2 ounces of blow in her apartment. Her trial was entirely in Arabic. Well, that's the language of the country you're in, so I would presume if you're in the United Arab Emirates, Arabic will be the language. Her trial, sadly, the UK doesn't go to bat for pretty British girls. Only the Islamic sex offenders who assault them. 2 ounces of cocaine is a lot, guys. You don't need to be a druggie to imagine it's like a big bag full. So 2 ounces is enough for you to be arrested here in the United States for intent to distribute, which may not get you 25 years, but it'll get you a lot of prison time. Okay, that's a lot of cocaine. There's no way that was her personal cocaine stash. She was almost certainly trafficking that cocaine in some way, intending to sell it. Okay, this glamorous law student, she knew what she was doing, right? She knew what she was doing, and that's the thing. Is like, shouldn't you know the laws of the country that you come into? Oh, it's just a little cocaine. It's just 2 ounces of cocaine. Like, that's a lot of cocaine, guys. That's a lot of cocaine. That's like 56 grams of cocaine. When you usually sell them like half grams or grams, That's a lot of cocaine, is my point. Okay? That's a lot. But people don't really see that. They just want to make it, aren't these foreign countries so bad? I actually knew someone who got jail time in Saudi Arabia for not wearing a hijab. And it's like, everyone's like, so bad that she got jail time for not wearing the hijab. It's like, okay, she just chose not to wear like something that's required by law for modesty purposes. It'd be like, well, in my country, it's okay to just have my breasts out. And so I just walked out without my top on and I got an indecent exposure arrest. It's like, yeah, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. You may be from rural Africa where that's cool, but we don't do that here. So, it's up to you to adhere to the laws of the land that you are choosing to live in or to visit, right? And to me, it's like, this is not an accidental thing. Like, I remember when I was a kid, this guy got caned in Singapore for spray painting something. I'm like, it's not like he didn't know that was wrong. It's not like he didn't know that he's not allowed to spray paint on tag a side of a building. He knows that's illegal in the United States too. Like, what are we doing? We're not going to save this kid from getting caned. It's cruel and unusual punishment. I'm like, actually, I don't know. Whipping someone physically is probably a more preferential punishment to jail time because it doesn't interrupt your life as much. It's a punishment, but then you just kind of move on. But the main thing is like, he went to a foreign country and broke their laws. And he knew that he was breaking the laws, and he did it so willfully. It wasn't like, oh, it turns out it's illegal to throw aluminum cans in the trash, and now you have a $7 billion fine. It's not that. This is not like a lack of justice. It's just this country executes really obvious property crime in a different way than the United States does. In the U.S., he would have gone to juvenile hall or something, or probably nothing would have happened to him. He would have offended 20 more times before we did anything to him. That actually reminds me, I don't want to talk too much about all the negative stuff, right? But there was the Ukrainian refugee that was murdered on the bus. Okay, so I'm starting to run out of time, so maybe I'll try to get through this one quickly. You guys know what's up, right? Okay. Ukrainian refugee girl, she steps on a bus. She's not aware of her surroundings. Crazy black guy in a hoodie stabs her in the neck, and she bleeds out and dies while everybody watches and does nothing in Charlotte, North Carolina. Right? Some people have made this point. Would we be talking about it if she wasn't pretty? Maybe not. Or if she wasn't white? Maybe not. And that's kind of sad. It's sad to me that, like, if she had been black and murdered in this way, it probably wouldn't have. Well, first of all, none of the standard media organizations reported this at all. It was entirely an online Twitter thing that dug it up, got the video out there, and showed what was happening. Okay. So the media didn't report it anyway, but if she'd been black, the sad thing is the media doesn't report black murders because it's almost expected that black people are going to get murdered in the ghetto. It's just, it's kind of like what Ice-T said. It's just body count. It's just the body count. It's just a count of bodies. Like, the violence is normalized. It's just expected. And that's very sad to me. That's very sad. So that is true. However, it illustrates something, which is that if this girl had been American, would this have happened to her? The answer is no. Whether she was black or white, if she was a black girl, she wouldn't have gotten stabbed to death on the bus, because she would have saw that guy in the hood and she would not have sat by him. She would have moved herself away from him. This is one of the things that is a hard thing about figuring out kind of future crime, or whether crimes would have happened or wouldn't have happened, is that if you are raised in that environment and you know what's up, right? Like, if I was on a bus, I wouldn't sit next to that guy because I could tell that there's something wrong with him, right? I'm not going to sit next to random black guys with hoods over their faces because I know that that's a potential problem. And in fact, I probably keep my eyes on him the whole time, in case I need to defend myself, right? And most of the other people, if it had been a black girl that stepped on the bus, she would have done the same thing. I'm not going by that guy. Why does he have a hood on? Why is he like that? What's he planning? She would have, but this girl's from Ukraine, and in Europe, you can get on buses and trains and not be murdered because everybody there is your same ethnicity. Everybody there, that's how it is, right? If she'd been a white American girl, this may not have happened to her because she would have been more situationally aware of that hoodlum. She would have profiled the guy and avoided it. And then, like, that's the sad thing too, is like, if she'd been hyper racist, she'd be alive. He said after he did it, he killed her because she was white. People that are used to the urban environment, they take steps to prevent that. This is the whole thing about, like, the ethnic cleansing of the cities in the 20th century, and then white flight, and how people establish things. Like they have to pay more. White people pay a huge premium to live outside of the city so that they have a comfortable distance between those people to help prevent that, so that they aren't victims of interracial violence. You take steps to prevent that. And then it doesn't show up on the report. And so then you kind of think that things are maybe better than they are because everybody is aware of that and is taking steps to avoid it. They're taking steps to avoid the interracial crime. And so it doesn't show up on any kind of statistic. A crime that never happens doesn't show up. It's kind of like talking about the sex offender registry. If you use the sex offender registry to prevent your child from being a victim, then that statistically doesn't show up. So the sex offender registry may prevent sex offenders from reoffending, which sounds weird when it's like, why would you have a sex offender registry if they're not reoffending? They're not reoffending because of the sex offender registry. See that paradox? As people take actions to protect their children. Which of your books should I buy first? I'm more of a fantasy guy. Any of the fantasy books, I'll link one right now. Let's see here. Water of Awakening is a great one to start with. Great classic fantasy in the classic mode. I will link you another fantasy book you can read called City of Silver. This one's a shorter read. It's more like modern. It's a little more modern. And it's probably my most popular fantasy book. Let me see if I can find it. I have this huge list of books here. I'll show you. My Amazon links for all the books I've written it's huge. I've written so many books. It's cool. It's cool to look at. Let's see here. City of Silver. There it is. I forgot to reorganize these, so now I can't find them. After I reorganize them, I don't remember where the links are. So City of Silver is another great one to check out too. Okay. How hard is it to not bring drugs everywhere? It's like the WNBA player. Can these people really not control their vices? Yeah, can you not? You could probably score coke in Dubai, but she was trying to make money. I'm sure she was trying to make money dealing the coke. And they knew that. It's not that hard. It's not hard to not deal coke. Just don't do that. The Joker was right about the mere existence of a plan pacifying people, even if the outcome is terrifying. Yeah. The left is correct about one thing. You shouldn't have unconscious bias. You should always have conscious bias. I'm convinced that the rapture is in 2 weeks. There should be a theology stream one day. That's directly contraindicated by scripture. And also, I don't believe in the rapture. At least the way Protestants view it, right? People are naturally racist because it's natural. It protects you. It sucks, but when I walked the city and saw a guy with a hood over his eyes come my way, I crossed the street. Sure, I got looks. Yeah, but you also didn't become a victim. I'd rather get naughty looks and not be a victim, right? That's me. The people who pressure people not to notice require us all to be part of their fantasy utopia. It would be nice when noticing is just sane. Yeah. And the thing is, there's when people talk about like racial profiling or something, there's no such thing as a random person. Okay? There's no such thing as a random person. You meet people in contexts. So if I'm on a bus, it's late at night, the fact that the guy's black is one data point amongst a lot of data points when I look at that video. Okay, so yeah, he's a black guy, got tats on his neck, he's got a hood over his face. This guy's trouble. It's not like a black guy with a suit got onto the bus. You would look at the black guy with the suit and be like, okay, well, he looks like he's upper middle class. Or, he's got a job where he's wearing a suit. He probably wouldn't be on the bus. That's the other problem, right? So the context matters. If you see like a black guy walking down the street in a suit and a tie with a briefcase, you're going to make a bunch of assumptions about him. And those assumptions are probably not going to be, this guy might be trouble and he might stab me to death, right? You're going to put him in the category. You're going to put him in a similar category to if he'd been white because of what he's wearing. But, you see a black guy in the FUBU wear with the starched pants, crip walking up to you, you're going to be on edge because it's probably a gang member, and it's smart to be on edge about that. Okay. You know what I mean? It's like The problem with the idea of, when you hear some kind of racial statistic is that it's like, yes, that's important to think about because, so when we talk about like black crime, it's like the Pareto principle in extreme. So like most of the crime, like 80% of the crimes are committed by a very small number of people. We're talking like you could lock up like 3 guys and it was like 99% of the crime from the neighborhood would disappear if you lock those 3 guys up. Because we found this out with active policing. If you lock a guy up for selling cocaine, the murder rate goes down. Because the same guy who deals cocaine is the guy who shoots someone over cocaine. Right? So the more criminals you lock up, the more other crime rates go down. So this is part of the New York miracle with Rudy Giuliani, is active policing. They went and they hustled people and they locked them up for minor crimes, but keeping them off the streets for those minor crimes prevented the bigger crimes from happening, because it's not just like a person randomly you're not randomly selected to murder one day, right? You're a criminal who does a bunch of bad things, and murder might be one of the things that you end up doing. So if you get that small number of people that do 80% of the crimes and put them in a place where they can't do those crimes against people, it lowers the crime rate. We now have decades of experience or of data that backs that up. So with this Charlotte guy, is that if you'd had a 3 strikes law and he'd been locked up for life, this murder wouldn't have happened. Murder wouldn't have happened. All right, let's see here. In your opinion, what would be better? Having no audiobook for your novels at all, or using something like Elven Labs AI voices to turn your manuscript into an audiobook? I'm not sure. I chose not to have any audio books. I have audiobooks that I've recorded myself, but I chose not to do audiobooks rather than have AI, because the AI sounded bad. And so I was like, it'd be better to have that person not hear the book than to have them hear a bad AI version of the book. That was my conclusion. So I just can tell you what I decided. No AI. The infrastructure needed to enforce no one can buy or sell without the mark has not yet been proliferated through the Southern Hemisphere, so we aren't at the end yet. Well, even trying to predict the end, this is counseled against, right? AI voices aren't there yet. There's a lot of things that go into a performance of an audiobook that you're not going to get from an AI voice. Besides it not being natural, it doesn't do voices or characters. It's not an actor. So it just doesn't do those things. Or if you were to do it, it would require almost as much work as just having an actor do it. So it's better to just have the actor do it, That's my thought. You see a naked man chasing a woman in an alley with a butcher knife. It's safe to assume he's not collecting for the Red Cross. Yeah. I'll never forget a bus ride I took in Seattle. A black man on a certain substance confronted another black man in a suit. Unprovoked. Crime or indecent behavior is a multifaceted thing. Yeah. That's true. And, the last time my wife took public transit, a guy had escaped from the hospital and still had an IV stuck in his arm and pulled it out on the bus. And it's she's like, I'm never taking, or not on the bus, on the train. It's like, I'm never taking this again. Have you seen the type of image manipulation? And this was 2 p.m. Have you seen the type of image manipulation possible with Google's nano banana model? I have not. I have not experimented with that at all. That's just not on my radar right now. But I will try to take a look at it, because maybe it should be. Let's see here. We did the baseball Karen. We did the Ukrainian refugee who wouldn't have died if she was American, because she would have known to stay away from that guy. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. Oh, bombing Narcos. Yeah, there is nobody on earth that is so vile you cannot get a liberal to defend him. Whether it is the train stabbing guy. I'm sure they'll defend the Charlie Kirk assassin. Someone will. But when you bomb some narcos, you bomb some guys that are bringing cocaine into the country. You bomb the narco terrorists, and someone will defend them and their rights to not be bombed, to come into the United States with truckloads of cocaine and possibly sex slaves or something else that they would like to sell. Right? This was like a good optics moment is like, here's us blowing up some drug dealers, speeding across the waters at night to deliver fentanyl to your family and to bring in people to rape your daughters. And it's like, those people were killed without due process of law. What process is due to non-citizen foreign actors engaged in potential acts of terrorism and war? You just frame it correctly and they will hang themselves. You give them some rope and they will hang themselves by defending the worst people on earth. They did it with the MS-13 animal. These guys are animals. How could you call anyone an animal? You call him Hitler and think he should be murdered. And you're mad that he called MS-13 members animals. Get over it, right? There's no amount of badness that you can force a liberal to defend, right? There's no limit. They will defend Satan himself. If you brought out if Satan himself showed up and we shot him to death, they'd be like, I can't believe you killed Satan without a trial. I can't believe you killed Satan without a trial. Don't you care about rights? They could do this to us next. They just killed Satan without a trial. They could kill us next. They're trying to crack down on us. Did you hear about California trying to make it illegal for ICE to wear masks? Which, again, when I say they hate you and they want you dead, this is another example of they hate you and they want you dead. They want ICE to not wear masks. Now, I don't think they can do this. I don't think they could tell federal agents not to wear masks. Why don't they want ICE to wear masks? Simple reason is so that the cartels can murder them and their families at night and rape their wives. That's why. It's so they can be murdered. Okay. They hate them and they want them dead. So the importance of anonymity in this is really important because just like with dealing with organized crime, keeping identity secret is important so that you can avoid the retribution that comes from organized crime. So you have to be realistic. Immigration involves a lot of organized crime, all right, cartels. It's so that those people can be murdered and have their children kidnapped and be murdered and be subject to all the bad things, rather than being able to be somewhat anonymous so that they have at least a little bit of protection for their family for this sort of thing, right? There's no law that the California legislature can cook up that is evil enough to satiate them. If they could make it so that they could legally allow anyone to murder an ICE agent whenever they wanted to, they would do that too. Okay? Text-to-speech has been around forever. If a reader really wants an audiobook, they can do it themselves. Now, this is what I said too for AI stuff. It's like, rather than having them buy an AI audiobook, which I felt bad selling something like that. I mean, like, if that was just a feature of an ebook you bought, if you could download the ebook and plug it in, and you could probably do this now. Hardwick probably is. Hey, kitten. My little kitten playing outside the door, playing with a toy, playing with an Easter egg. It looks like. I lost my train of thought. Little kitten interrupted my train of thought. Yeah, there's no law so evil that they would not pass it without a second thought. They just have no shame. They have no feelings of anybody thinking bad about them for this sort of thing. Oh, wait, we're talking about AI stuff, right? If they put the AI voice in the Kindle app and it just read to you, fine. That's great. A great way to access my books or someone else's books. I think that's awesome. That way you could read the book and then like, oh, I got to wash the dishes. Boom, read it to me a little bit and I'll wash the dishes and the AI could read to you. But the reason why didn't Amazon do that is because they charge a lot of money for audiobooks. So that would be a way for people to get audiobooks more cheaply. So they don't want to allow that. But if you want to take one of my books and you want to put it into something that will read it aloud to you, Claude or something, ChatGPT, if they do that, then go for it. Go for it. Have it read to you. That's great. I don't care. If you buy the ebook, that's fine. If you buy the audiobook, that's great too. But if you just want it to read to you, I'm okay with that as well. They're already cheering for that guy, the guy who killed Charlie Kirk. It's like they cheered for Luigi, who murdered a guy who ran or was just the CEO of a health insurance company. They didn't murder Barack Obama, who caused health insurance premiums to go through the roof. Didn't do that. Charlie Kirk things had me upset all day. Absolutely insane. Yes. Like I said, I'm going to circle back around and say what I said at the beginning of the stream. The difference between you and Charlie Kirk is that Charlie Kirk has an audience. That's the only difference. So anybody that hates Charlie Kirk is happy that he's dead. They'd be happy if you were dead. They want you dead. They'd be happy if you were murdered because you think the same things he does. In fact, you probably think things that are more extreme than Charlie Kirk. He was a pretty moderate guy and a pretty peaceful guy as far as that stuff goes, right? He would just talk to anyone. So the fact is they hate you and they want you dead. There's no difference between him and you other than they killed him because he was famous, not because they think he's worse than you. They think you're just as bad. And this could be your friends or family. Your friends or family could be ecstatic if you were murdered because you think the wrong thing. Right? You have to give cartels due process. What process is due to a foreigner? People say due process. What does the process do to them? That's the question. What process is due to a foreigner? A foreigner who's been designated a terrorist. It would seem like the best course of action would have been on the water at night and not on an open boat to deliver drugs. It seems like a silly precaution, but I am able to do it. I'm able to it daily. Those drugs had a right to be in poor people's bloodstreams. Dean Cain has been getting a lot of hate for joining ICE. I didn't know the dude joined ICE. I haven't paid attention to that, but that's cool. Just heard about Charlie Kirk. I'd been away from the phone all day. Truly sad. This ought to be historic. I didn't follow him much. He had his whole life ahead of him. He's 31. Yeah. Audible's been trying to implement AI into their audiobooks. Yeah, I have to do it on my side. At least that's what I've usually had to do. It's like I can do one and they sell it at an audiobook price. I don't like that. I'd be okay with my books having AI audiobooks if it was just part of the ebook. If it was just like came along with the price of the ebook, I'd be fine with it. Because you know what you're getting. Like, oh, this voice is kind of reading. It's an AI voice reading it. But I don't want to sell you an audiobook that's an AI voice. That's going to sound like crap. And frankly, they're just not up to task. They're not good enough. I'd rather do it myself. Damn, David, I knew you were a smart and reasonable man, but I did not know that you were so thoroughly based. The wokes are out of control. You're totally correct. They hate you. Yes, I've been saying they hate you for years. People say I'm being hyperbolic when I say that, right? I've been using the word death cult for like almost 10 years. People said I was hyperbolic when I was calling it the death cult. But it's a death cult. They're obsessed with death. They want you dead. This is pretty obvious. Now, why doesn't your average wokey liberal come over and kill you? Well, because what goes along with their persuasion is they're generally pussies, right? They don't do things for themselves. And they would prefer to have the state put you in a camp. Like, let's gain control of the state, and we'll use the state to commit the Holocaust against people that I don't like. That's what they would prefer to do. But because they don't... You know, if some random wokey is like, I don't know, some wokey in my life that I live in, there's no one woke in my life. I have like lesbian neighbors and they're still very conservative. Like, I don't know. Some wokey's like, well, I'm going to take it up and he believes the same thing as Charlie Kirk, so I'm going to go kill him. Well, he's got a gunfight on his hands right now. Okay, so they don't do that because there's too much risk to themselves. But it's that stochastic thing. Occasionally you are going to create such religious fervor in the people that are hearing this over and over again about how the evil Nazis, there's Nazis, Nazi, 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 Nazi. You're going to hear that so much that they're just going to crack and they're going to think, I have a moral obligation to murder Charlie Kirk or to murder Donald Trump or murder someone else, whoever it's going to be. I have a moral obligation to murder them, to kill them. And so they're going to do that. Your average wokey is not going to do it. They sit there. They're bugmen. They're bugmen. They're bugmen. They sit there and they're completely passive watching their gay ass. What's the one they always watch? Handmaid's Tale. Their gay impregnation fetish bullshit entertainment. Watching their scroll about the evil orange man, Hitler, small penis, right? Everything is just waterfall of religious sentiment that the evil Satan of Donald Trump has to be destroyed. But most of them are too passive to do it. They're just not going to do that much of it. They prefer to do it to hire the police officer to come kill me, not to come kill me themselves. So most of us are pretty safe, and we're safe simply because we're not famous. Charlie Kirk, meanwhile, is a big target, and so therefore that's what the risk is that if you stick your head up, you might get shot at. Okay. Yeah, it sucks. But you have to, I believe that you have to get over the impulse to not speak or to not have an opinion to try to protect yourself, because it's sooner or later, it's like we all just need to have our opinions. We just all need to be. Sooner or later, they're coming for you no matter what. So let's try to stop it now. Yeah, Charlie Kirk was 31. He was only 31. I actually think Carl Benjamin is correct that woke leftism is the natural evolution of liberalism. I agree. I agree with him, actually. We can't simply go back. There needs to be something learned and integrated from this. Yes, and Brian and I have talked about this. It's not, we've conserved nothing, really. And so it's just the next evolution of liberalism. So really you need something different to replace it. You need like an actual principled, not conservatism. We need a different word for it because there's nothing really to conserve. We need a positive outlook, which would be, I don't know what it is. I use the word optimists, the best. We should be for the best men, right? A hierarchy of the best people. And how we go about doing that, I don't know yet. I'd have to do a lot more thinking about it politically. You know what I mean? If I never hear about World War II again, it will be too soon. I'm so over hearing about Germany in the 30s. Yeah. Yeah, I'm optimists for what is good, not for what is popular. Now, the thing with that is that Trump is really a populist, and it's how he gained popularity is by forming a coalition of popular positions and popular people, and that's how he secured the keys to power. Populism has been the traditional mode of the Democrat Party for as long as I've been around. They're not optimists, but they failed to make the coalition work this time. They've always been a coalition of really disparate factions that have contrasting beliefs, right? Because if you are a poor black, your interests are diametrically opposed to an immigrant. Because that poor immigrant is lowering your economic value, is reducing the opportunities for young black men to find work that's productive and valuable and pays enough for them to be able to move up and get into a higher class level and have a better standard of living. Immigration, the thing about immigration is that the biggest impact of immigration is not these edge cases of like the crazy gang members and that kind of stuff. That's like the tail. That's like the tail events. It's the big infinite labor supply at the bottom of society that makes it so workers can't negotiate for good wages. If you didn't have any immigration, all of a sudden your manual labor would become a lot more valuable. Now, people who use manual labor a lot may not want that, but for people who are getting started in life or people who don't have any skills yet, having the ability to earn minimum wage or better doing manual labor is really important and really valuable. My first job was manual labor. I worked at a chicken kill plant. Okay. I've been there. I have worked those jobs. I've worked in industry. I've worked in agriculture. And I know how hard it is to do those jobs. And I know how important those jobs are for people who are looking to build skills. I knew people that were able to get their job and get their forklift certification and earn a higher wage and be able to buy a house one day, right? Or get skills. I knew guys who started with nothing and they became mechanics that made 6 figures easy. Were able to build a really good life for themselves and their families. And they had started like with nothing. But to have those opportunities erased or just so diluted to where you can't find them, that's really what's crushing people. So, like I said, the coalition of immigrants and Black Americans, their interests are really diametrically opposed. So the Democrats just have to promise different things to them, to each of them. And that's how you win those big elections, is you just sort of form a coalition. Well, Trump's coalition was a little better this time. It's still a populist sort of thing. But when we're thinking about how do we fix things, we have to think about what's best, not what's popular. And I know we have to think about what's popular right now in order to get enough power in order to affix change, in order to change things. The big Hitler is a 90s Democrat who supported Bill and Hillary. If they think this extreme is just, this is extreme, just wait until a true right-winger emerges and gains momentum. Oh, bro, I worked manual labor, and my one takeaway is that I wanted to arrange my life so that I never had to do it again. To your point, they absolutely deserve to be able to build a life on it. Yeah. All right. It's hard work. Like, shouldn't you get paid for it? Well, you can't get paid for it because there's 30 different immigrants ready to do your job. And H-1Bs is just that impacting the middle class. Like H-1B truck drivers, that's always been a really good profession for working class men to pick up, is truck driving. When that gets squeezed out by H-1Bs who work for less, all of a sudden your economic potential is way diminished. And it's not really that it's great for H-1Bs either. They're basically chained to their desk. They can't quit their job. They're like little indentured servants. A lot of people don't understand how that stuff works. All right. I'm running out of time. All right. I'm going to end with something good. Give me a second here. Holy crap. I forgot this one. How's this girl looking today? You guys want to see what Miley Cyrus looks like right now? Oh, I can't find her. I can't find the picture. Shoot. Yeah. She came out with a picture at 32. This girl looks like she's freaking 50. Oh my God. Good night. Oh, dude, I can't find it. Anyway, she looks really awful. She looks absolutely terrible. A medical condition that gives her a raspy voice. I think that medical condition is called smoking crack cocaine. Here, take a look at this. Let's take a look at this picture of her. This girl's 32. Damn. It's like looking like, have you seen pictures of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen? Ooh. They looking rough, man. It's like her raspy voice is from smoking crack cocaine. That's what you got her raspy voice for. Okay. Look at this. And her face looks so much more asymmetrical with this terrible haircut. Like it's just, she looks like this is probably just weight loss. Although she does have some like fat here. So it could be buccal fat removal, which makes you just look awful. I found some other really bad pictures of her, but I don't know where they went. Truly some bad stuff, Man, I wish I could find that picture again. It's just a really bad picture of her. I think that's it. I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Let me link the Patreon again. Patreon. Join the Patreon. You get some free books. You can support what I'm doing. Yeah. Sad thing is she's aged a lot better than... check out Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. These girls... These are older pictures, but man, like these poor... Look at this, man. She had like a bad nose job or something. Something went wrong here. This is a pretty old one, so they even look worse now. Every time I see them, I'm like, good night. They are looking a little rough here, Miley Cyrus looks like shit. I mean, she's looked bad for a while. I mean, like compare her to like her teenage self, and it's like this like fresh-faced girl. What did they do to this girl? What did they do to her? Good night. Anyway. It's iconic. They're calling her look iconic. I'm like, it is iconic. That iconic look is called crack whore. Jenny Ortega also recently did something to her face too. Yes, you're right. And I think that was partially makeup, but I think it's also just possibly fat loss. right? Like she lost weight, and a lot of times when you lose weight, you can lose fat in your face, and it makes you get the death face, the bodybuilder death face. Starts to look, like hollowed out. Just you lose the fat under the eyes. A part of this is like her makeup. She used this contouring makeup, but it makes her jaw look really big because of this hollowed out cheek look. It's just not a good look. I don't think this is like, she might have had buccal fat removal. I don't know. But like compare these two, like her jaw looks bigger, but I think it's because she's lost weight in her face. So it could just be a factor of weight loss. A lot of times what people call a Ozempic face is just they lost weight, Elizabeth Olsen still looks good. Yeah, the buccal fat makes them look like 20 years older. Yeah. It makes them, to me, and I'll just say here, I think the buccal fat thing is because it makes them look like a twink. It makes them look like it makes them look like a thin wayfish boy. And that's why they're doing it, is because Hollywood's really gay. That's why. They're people that are into twinks. All right. That's it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed the spice. I will see you all next time on Bantha Fodder, delivering you the manure mail. We're going to keep this format for a while. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to check out how the live stream did. I think it did better than usual. It looked like I had about 40 people watching, which is great. You can, let me link I'm going to start building up the Bantha Fodder channel. This just got a lot of shit posting. I really wanted this to be a funnier day, but like it's been a very like tragic and unfortunate day. And so I can't really it's hard for me to not be mad and upset about things. But I do want to I just want people to like remember that what people say about someone that's like you is going to be what they're saying about you. Sorry, there we go. The manure mail.